Okay, here we are, back again, Michigan Conservative Roundtable. Kim is to my left, Mac is to my right, my name is TJ. And in this one, we're going to be talking about Biden. It could very well, he's on the way to becoming what the Democrat presidential nominee, hasn't won yet, but he did have a favorable Super Tuesday. And so it's looking like Biden's going to be the man. And I read an article, came across an article in the Federalist. Yeah, read across. I came across an article in the Federalist by a David Marcus, and I found it interesting. The premise of his article was, with Biden becoming the Democrat nominee, this puts Obama back on the ticket. And it is his belief Obama is on the ballot, and that might change everything, was his last sentence. And the reason, he gives some reasons why Biden and not Sanders. And I'm going to reference a political commentator that Mac and I are pretty familiar with, an elderly black guy by the name of Thomas Sowell. He was being interviewed once, and he was interviewed at the early days of the Obama presidency, and the person who was doing the interviewing asked Thomas Sowell if he thought Obama was a communist. Because when you look at some of what Obama did, you go, oh, that's communism. But Thomas Sowell said something that I thought was very interesting, and I never forgot. He goes, he's kind of a mixture of fascism and communism. And then Thomas Sowell goes on to draw a distinction between communism and fascism and ties it into why he thinks what he thinks. Communism, and the short answer to communism is, the government has complete ownership of everything. In other words, you're not going to own an XYZ company to make something. The government's going to own the XYZ company. Fascism allows for ownership, but the government's going to tell you how to run your business. So yeah, you'll run XYZ given the dictates of the government, and you're going to follow their mandates. This is how you're going to run your XYZ company. And that's kind of the distinction between communism and fascism. And Thomas Sowell, it was his belief that President Obama was kind of a mixture of those two. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people will think that because Bernie Sanders is such a communist, why wouldn't he be the one to continue or enhance Obama's legacy as opposed to Biden? Thoughts so far, anyone?
Well, I don't think Biden is going to be a long-term guy, even if he wins. I think he will, for his reasons. He wants to be a president. He wants the inaugural parade. He wants to dance at the ball. But I don't think he's ever wanted the job. It's my opinion he was in this race to get the cover of a political opponent to cease the prosecution that may or may not be coming his way. But as to Obama, the Obama thing, and how he did that, the fascist part of that is, you say the mandates and control. Those are done by the EPA.
Oh yeah,
OSHA is another one. Then you have the equal opportunity employment thing, which just then becomes a front for hire minorities only, or make sure that they're the manager, regardless of.
And Thomas Sowell didn't necessarily say he was one or the other, just that he was a
combination of both.
Kind of.
He's a communist using fascism.
Yeah, and I believe that's what Thomas Sowell was trying to say in the interview, because everyone was banging their up, how Obama's a communist, Obama's a communist, and Thomas Sowell was kind of not so fast. He's really kind of this instead.
Yeah, I guess my point was that is the method of the fascism. Government controls and regulations up to yin-yang. You can't run a 7-Eleven without all of their approvals and stacks of rules that they just make up every day as they go along. And President Trump basically put a knife through that whole stack of those regulations, taking it away. That's why they're so angry.
All right. Well, in any event, it was, and I'm going to reference his name again, David Marcus. It was his opinion that Biden best represented the way Obama did things. So yeah, that's from where he started. He also thought that when you take and you have the political terms of hard right, center left, and hard left. He kind of felt that Biden would obviously Biden would be viewed as center left, and as being center left as opposed to hard left, Sanders would be hard left, because Biden is center left. There was the chance of pulling some of the center right to the center left, because we all know President Trump's such a horrible guy.
Right.
You know, I mean, when you take the never Trumpers and whatnot out there, you know, they can kind of falsely make the case of, well, he's center left. He's not really a hard left. He's a center
Well,
left.
Joe's a pretty good guy when you take away Ukraine corruption, his constant gaffes, his borderline pedophilia, his sexually assaulting women. I mean, well, you take all that away, he's probably an okay guy. So that's why the center right would go there, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's why they're okay with his gaffes, because he's not a polished politician. You know, he's an average guy.
I saw a montage of them, and they weren't meant to be funny, but I actually had to laugh at some of them, asking a paraplegic man to stand up.
See, I don't think he'll stay in office long because I think he's got health problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that'll be the claim at least.
and
Anyway.
I think they're going to put the person as vice president that they actually want in charge.
Yes, I think so too, and that could be a Michelle Obama or a Kamala Harris or so on and so
Gretchen
forth. And those
Whitmer.
people worry me. Mayor Pete.
what I found, I don't want to use the word interesting, but I guess what got my attention about the whole Biden thing was how with the Democrat DC establishment, it became an all hands on deck to get Biden the nomination as opposed to Sanders.
Well, instantly, I'm sure all three of us thought the same thing. When Bloomberg got out so suddenly, I thought, well, all the money is getting dumped in one place because they've picked who they want, and we all, at least Kim and I, believe that the vice presidential candidate is going to be the key here, and what the little scheme they got going. But everybody drops. Why would Buttigieg drop out?
So quick.
Yeah, I don't understand. I got to think he got an envelope or a check in the mail or something.
Or a phone call or a visit to his office.
And Amy. I
or
mean,
yeah.
she was up there and standing.
Got called to the principal's office or something, you know. So anyways, in regards to the article written by David Marcus, he references the center-left portion of politics. You know, he mentions the concerns that the establishment Democrat Party has in getting those swing districts. You know, he's pretty certain that if Bernie Sanders were the nominee, that these swing districts are for sure going to go back to Trump. And, you know, the concern is the swing districts that they won in 2018, obviously they want to keep it in the Democrat column. You know, and you know, he references a lot of these center-left politicians. They kind of give a wink and a nod to the left, saying, you know, hey, you know what I really mean, but I got to say this,
Right.
so that we can keep the district, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So he suspects a whole lot of that going on.
Sure.
All right, and that's a distinction he draws between Biden and Sanders. You know, of course, there is you know, the suspicion that neither of them will achieve the magic number. Then what?
Brokered convention.
Brokered convention, and I do believe President Trump's going to somehow throw that into the mix of leave it to the Dems to do what they do best, and that is, rewrite the rules as they're playing by the rules.
Right.
You know,
Their own rules.
yeah.
But it's going to be interesting if Bernie doesn't win again, what's going to happen with the Democratic Party. And the Democrats give it to Biden, which I think will happen. Because I think Bernie's followers are the more violent, the more
Revolutionary.
type, and
Words come
it
to
will
mind.
definitely shatter that party, I think.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to mention a Bernie bro on the Young Turks. And doggone it, where'd I put that at? Okay. In any event, a Cenk, C-E-N-K, Uyghur, U-Y-G-U-R, on the Young Turks, he did a meltdown, kind of going to that. In his rant, he is quoted as saying, "If you want to go to war, we'll go to war. We cannot let Biden win. This is not just progressives versus the establishment. Guys, I need you to understand this. Biden is not going to beat Trump." I'm glad to see he's more convinced of that than I am.
Well, I think
You know?
what one of the things he might be alluding to is the Bernie bros will either vote Trump to screw the Democrats because they've screwed him twice, or they'll just stay home.
Right.
Well, one or the
Both
other.
of which would ensure a Trump victory.
Yeah. In any event, back to the David Marcus article. He just remains steadfast in, if and when Biden becomes the Democrat nomination, President Barack Obama is in fact back on the ballot, and his concern is the dynamics of the election. Call it the X factor. Biden is and the D.C. establishments see Biden as the only solution to salvaging President Obama's legacy. And they don't think Bernie's the answer because Bernie's too far left. Because Bernie's so far left, President Trump would win. And in the event that President Trump wins regardless, either way, President Obama's legacy becomes old news, bad news, whatever.
Well, that's going to happen to every president. So they think that that's not going to happen over time. They're mistaken.
So my question is, though, who is really running Obama's administration? I never really felt Obama was running it, that he was just a puppet to someone else.
Well, that's been speculated quite a bit, that it was George Soros and
Right.
the globalists.
So are they just wanting another puppet?
Well, the easy
in the
answer is
place.
the D.C. establishment.
Yeah.
Right.
Them and their whole numbers thing and blah blah this and blah blah that, and in keeping Obama's legacy alive, the main thing you could say his legacy is Obamacare.
Yeah.
How badly do people want Obamacare back in full enforcement? We're kind of in a situation right now. I was talking to my wife about this just yesterday as we were doing our taxes. It's the law, but it's a law that has been determined to, like the individual mandate. Technically, the individual mandate is you must have it, but if you don't, you're not going to be penalized. You're just supposed to.
Right.
And that was kind of getting thrown out yesterday as we were doing our taxes, and I thought, well, that goes to the whole phoniness of Obamacare and the law itself.
Right.
And so now here you got the DC Democrat DC insiders in wanting to preserve Obama's legacy, and and if they're successful, then they get Obamacare back into full enforcement, or at least back to what it was,
Yeah.
to the point
Where I pay and you receive.
yeah,
Right.
that kind of nonsense. So that's about it. Anything else, you guys?
No.
Nope.
I'm good.
All right. So that's a wrap. And to everyone out there, just remember: be safe, watch your six, and to the Obama supporters out there, don't tread on me.